Hey, welcome back to Tawana Talks, where we keep it real, raw, and rooted in something deeper. Today's not a teaching moment, it's a truth moment. And if you're a mom who's raising a child with ADHD, that already puts different things into the game. But if you have other perspectives like raising a child by yourself, having other trying life circumstances, then this one's for you. I don't have a fix, but I do have a mirror, and I'm bringing mine to the table. Well, hey y'all, welcome back to where we say things out loud that most people are scared to even whisper. And today is not about strategy, it's really about like the inner work of what we do as parents and people. And I'm not showing up with like a how to do list. I'm really in this episode showing up like a mirror. And if you're a mom who's ever parented while running on fumes, which are most moms, or you found yourself like yelling when you swore you wouldn't do it anymore, or that was your last time, or tomorrow you'll do better, and all of those things that we tell ourselves as if there is some playbook that we have been following and we decided to deviate from the plan because everything just works so well, then this episode is certainly for you. And so I saw something on social media that really touched me, and it hit a nerve. It did two things really. Like it was like, yeah, but then it also hit a nerve. It was like, yeah, like it was in a good way and then in a not so good way. And it really got me thinking about why we parent the way we do and how sometimes our intentions don't match the impact, and not from a place of condemnation. No, that's not my goal here and never is my goal in any of the episodes, but really from a place of reflection. As I was reading it, I felt like I felt the reflection, but I also felt the tug of condemnation because I was just like, these kind of posts don't always leave room for the full story. Like, what if it's the parent of a child of with special needs, or the solo parent, though there's that's the only parent there is, or the parent who's living in survival mode, or one who, like many who are listening to this podcast, are raising a child, like I said, with special needs, or a child with ADHD, and you haven't had a full night's sleep in like 3 years. So I want to talk about that today. But first, I really want to read the post to you, so that you could be in the same space that I was as we kind of go through some of this and kind of unpack it. And so it says, and I may even tag the person or the organization who posted this, and I would love to have some dialogue and some conversation because, again, let me say this post was not, I'm not condemning the post, and I'm not attacking the post, but this post did bring something out of me to say I need to think on that some more, and I really want to have conversation around that because there is truth to the post here, but there's a bigger story on how do you accomplish what the post is suggesting if you do not also expose the truth and address the truth behind the behavior that the post is addressing. And I think that'll make sense once I read the post. So it says, the child who fears you isn't respecting you, they're surviving you. Now, before, let me go on, let's say this. Before I read it, I'm going to try my hardest not to commentate in between. So I'm just going to read it for what it is. And I know you will probably be commentating as you're reading it because I was my first time and in my head when I'm reading it. But this time I'm going to read it straightforward with no commentation. Yeah, not yeah. I will not be commenting on it. I'm going to read it straightforward. And so I'll start over. The child who fears you isn't respecting you, they're surviving you. The most dangerous lie in parenting. That fear and respect are the same thing. Fear doesn't create respect. It creates actors, it creates pleasers, it creates prisoners. What looks like respect is your child learning that your love has a price tag. The child who is afraid to mess up isn't developing character, they're developing a trauma response. They're learning to monitor your emotions more closely than their own. When a child fears you, their brain shifts into survival mode. Prefrontal cortex shuts down, stress hormones spike, critical thinking vanishes. All they learn is how to survive the adult they love most. You can make them tremble, you can pierce them with your voice, you can tower over them with your rage, but each time you do, something sacred dims. What dies isn't just their courage, it's their trust in you as their safe harbor. That instant obedience you call good parenting, it's the sound of your child's authentic self going underground. They're, they'll resurface later in rebellion or in therapy. A child raised on fear doesn't learn right from wrong, they learn risk assessment. They learn to ask, will I get caught? Not, is this right? The child who truly respects you feels safe questioning you. The child who fears you wouldn't dare. The first becomes a leader, the second becomes a follower. The opposite of fear based parenting isn't weakness or permissiveness, it's mature power. It's anchored authority. It's leadership that doesn't need to be terrorized. I'm sorry, that doesn't need to terrorize to be respected. Your child doesn't need to fear you to respect you. They need to see you, respect yourself enough to uphold your boundaries without becoming monstrous. A child raised with fear doesn't lose respect. They gain something far more powerful, the unshakable truth that they are worthy of protection even at their most unworthy moments. You weren't born believing fear and respect were the same. You were taught it by adults who were taught it. Some cycles are meant to be inherited. This isn't one of them. It ends with you. All of that resonated with me, and all of that feels very true. Like, I know and understand that I do not want to parent my child out of fear or parent her into respecting in fear. And I have two older children, and I didn't want to do that. When I reflect back on some things, I didn't realize it in the moment that I was parenting in this way until after the fact. It was like, oh, it's not what I wanted to do. And then even with my child that I have now, and I have grown-ups, I don't realize it even after you've already parented. So it's not like you learn how to tie your shoe and you just now you know how to tie it. And so you tie it the way you tie it, and that's that. And if you make a mistake, it's like, wait, I know how to tie my shoe. That's not what parenting is like, right? I could not do certain things with my other children or not do certain things and then realize, wait, I didn't do that with them, so I'm not supposed to do that with this one, or I did do that with this one with them, so I'm supposed to do that with this one because that's what worked. No, because these are human, and humans have their own experiences outside of the experience they have with you, so they function and make their own judgment and perceptions based on their experiences and who they are as individuals. A shoestring is a shoestring is a shoestring. It's not an individual. um and and so as I'm unpacking this and I'm looking and I'm like, the outcome is very much so what I want, but the process is not outlined here because the process doesn't leave room also for the experience of the parent. And it's not to say that your experience gives justifies your behavior, but it does um, give, what's the word I'm looking for? It does give insight to the behavior so that therefore you can be able to address the experience and move forward with helping to unpack that so that you can be able to parent in the way that doesn't produce the outcomes that are being spoken of here. Because without that, this post just feels very shame blaming, and it feels not shame blaming. I don't know if that's a term. It feels very blaming, and it makes you feel shameful because you're like, dang it. Yep, that's right. Yep, that's right. I don't want to do that. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't be screaming. I shouldn't be yelling. I shouldn't be doing all of those things. But then it hasn't uncovered the why do you yell? Why do you do all of those things? Why do you parent this way? Why do you do this? Because I don't think any parent ever wants to wake up and say, today I am going to be mean. Today I'm going to yell. Today I'm going to make sure that my child feels less than when I yell, or they're afraid when I yell, because I'm going to bully them into doing what it is I want them to do or need them to do. I don't think any, I'm not gonna say I don't think any parent, but for the most part, parents who are looking to be good parents don't do that. But sometimes it happens. And in fact, I have other episodes where I talked about, like, when I realized I was the bully. Um, when I have an episode that talks about I'm not one of your little friends, and I realize that sometimes our kids show up the way they do because we are actually acting like one of their little friends on the playground, because we have not grown up that little person, so that we can be able to lead and parent well. One thing that this post says here is, um, oh, where was it? Here it is. Um, the child who truly respects you feels safe questioning you. The child who fears you wouldn't dare. And I have another episode that says something like, why are you questioning me, or something like that. I can't remember the exact title. But in that, I also address that asking questions are ways to build and develop. And although I know all of these things, sometimes you do feel challenged. And that challenge, when your child is challenging you or asking questions or bucking, if you will, and I'm doing air quotes for that for those who are listening and not watching, when it comes during a time and a space, and maybe that space is in a space of depletion. Maybe that space is in the space of already frustration because so many things are compiling, and that's the last straw that broke the camel's back. And your response is a response that is reactive, and you haven't had time to proactively think through the response. Then it comes out as a yell or a scream or frustration, or now you are parenting out of building fear, because now you just need your child to do something. So it makes me think, like, again, there's other factors. So here's a perfect example of this. My daughter was experiencing a little bit of a cough, and I needed her to take some cough medicine because I knew that that cough medicine would help break up the mucus that was in her chest and help get that out. And after, she needed to take two tablespoons, and after taking one, she was like, absolutely not, I'm not taking another one. And I'm like, and this was like after I read this post, and I was trying to figure out, like, all right, what's all of um the non-fearful tactics that I could use to get her to take this medicine. And I was like, I can't think of one right now. Like, I'm truly really threatening, like, turn the TV off and you have to take this. And I'm about ready to really shove it down her throat because I know she needed it. And I didn't know at that moment what was the best way to have her take this medicine. And so, outside of forcing her to, I had to back off and just be like, okay, let me back away for a second, because I am going to jump into the take it right now, and screaming and yelling and all of those things. And again, this was after I read this post. Now, pre-post reading, I probably would have behaved in a way that was like, by any means necessary, this cough medicine is getting into your system because I know that it's what's best for you. But I ended up having to walk away and act out of love, and was like, will you take it a little bit later? And she's like, absolutely not. And I'm thinking, I got to think of another way. I got to think of something else. But I say all that to say that being real, understanding that life is real, people are real, and things happen. And sometimes you're parenting through circumstances which causes you to show up in a way that you did not choose to show up, and that's not a way that you had planned in your outline of what a good parent is. And so when I saw this post, I didn't scroll past it. I kind of sat with it, and to be honest, I really did wince, as you can feel the tension in me reading it. Again, to the post writer, this is not condemning this post. This, I thank you for it, because it had me sit with it, and it made me to think about something a little bit deeper. And again, I might tag them because I kind of want to have some more conversation through this, and kind of um, forces align so that we can build something greater. Like, it's one thing to identify and expose, but then what? We can't just be like here and then leave people out there to figure it out on their own. Like I want to close that gap. And so because I know it's true, and I also know that I'm the only one raising my child, I'm not co-parenting. I am the yes, I am the no, I'm the good cop, I'm the bad cop, I'm the nurturer, I'm the consequence, I'm the bedtime story and the meltdown recipient. I'm part of the meltdown response team. I'm the after effect. I'm the shock absorber. All those things. I'm the anchor. And sometimes I feel like I'm drowning, and my response comes after being all of those things. And sometimes it's not just being all of those things. Like today, I'm this, today that. I've just been all those things in the matter of the last hour, or all of those things in the entire day. I've taken on all of those responsibilities. And so there are days where I parent from depletion, I parent from exhaustion, and from not having a drop left to give. And there's a thing out right now that's like that we do not care club. And sometimes I feel like it's the we do not care club, and it's not so much that I don't care because I don't love, it's just that I don't have the capacity to care right now. And so it's like at 9 o'clock I am part of the we do not care club because I have been caring since 4:30 that morning. And now it's like I don't even have enough to care for myself, let alone anybody else. And let me tell you, I didn't mean to parent from fear in lots of cases, but I did. And if I'm being really honest, some days I still do. And so it's not a past thing, it's a present action. And especially when you are raising a child um, with special needs, and in my case with ADHD, when their executive dysfunction collides with your emotional burnout, it's a perfect storm. It's the perfect chaos. It's the perfect disaster. And sometimes it's not about being gentle. It's about just getting out the door. It's about just getting to the next bedtime. And so you're trying so hard to be everything that you end up feeling like you're failing at everything. And I don't say this with shame. I actually say this with grief because I'm here too. And so because um, I'm not intending to harm doesn't mean harm isn't happening, right? It's like today I don't mean to make my child feel bad because of something, but it may happen. And so it's hard to, it's really a hard pill to swallow when you love your child more than anything. Yet the fallout still happens from you parenting out of desperation, out of depletion. And I'm not here today with a list of what to do because I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But I am here to um, give courage to the name and name what's true. Like I want to bring the courage to name what's true because sometimes we're like, well, I can't say that. I can't, I'm not going to really, because that'll sound like, but it's true. And we need to identify what's true because I know I'm not the only one. I've talked to other parents who feel the same way, but are also afraid to say it. And as I was listening to this post and preparing for what I will talk about today, because I always want to bring what's real here and help give name and give language to what we really experience um, as a plight, to normalize it, but also seek after other resources that are there to help through this process. So let me ask you this for those that are listening, like what version of you is your child learning to survive? Because that's what hit me when I was like, dang, when it said like um, your child isn't, what did it say? When your child fears you, their brain shifts into survival mode. Prefrontal cortex shuts down, stress hormones spike, critical thinking vanishes. All they learn is how to survive the adult they love most. And I was like, dang it, that hurt. And then I had to ask, like, where has fear crept in through exhaustion, not intention? It's like I didn't intend to react this way, but it just happened. Um, and I think even asking yourself these questions and kind of journaling and writing it helps to give name and a face to yours so that you can be able to move. Like, um, part of any program, like, and the one that I can think of just is, I think everybody knows, the program like Alcoholics Anonymous. One of their things are, admitting, um, admitting the addiction or something like that. Please don't come after me if I don't have it entirely correct. Um, for the step, but basically it's like naming it. And so I think part of these questions are not, I think, but I know part of these questions are naming it so that once you kind of, expose it, now you can do something. And in one of my episodes I talk about like, naming the fear or something like that, like a jump scare. Like, man, my kids used to play, my oldest children, when they were younger, and even my youngest one, like, you hide behind a wall and then you jump out and scare them. But if you say something like, I already know you back there, then you have diminished the fear. You have taken away the fear, and now you can address it. And so that's kind of what these questions are, is like naming it so now you can address it. So, another question that I kind of sit with is, have I ever had to choose survival over softness just to make it through, the morning, just to make it through the day? And my answer is yes. Like, I'm being really honest here. And ask yourself, have you ever had to choose survival over softness? Like, have you chose logic over love because love, wasn't going to get you to survival, but logic was? Name that. Start there. And I'm not judging you. I'm walking beside you, and I'm just now learning how to stop parenting like I'm running from a fire. And and I notice I said learning. I've not learned, because every day brings a newness. And even though I have two grown up children, doesn't mean like, oh, you did it before, you should know. Absolutely not. Even when they're only 3 years apart, one didn't give me full insight to the next, and those two didn't give me full insight to this one. And they're grown and on living their grown up lives, and that's not okay. Well, this is how I did this. It's not baking a cake. It's not like last time I baked it, it turned out like this. Last time I tied my shoe, it turned out like this. No. And so I am learning how to stop running from a fire in my parenting and start parenting like I'm building a house. And that's what I'm here to share with you. Like, and not like these are the tips that I use, so these are the exact tips you use. The overarching tips is first naming it, like you being able to identify for yourself those questions that I pose to you, that I'm even asking myself, naming it first, and then starting from there. So you can name it without condemning yourself. You can say, I got it wrong, without saying, I'm a bad mother, because you're human. And again, you could have 14 children and still not do something well with the 13th child. Um, and having 12 above those, like, seriously. And sometimes what looks like control is actually collapse. And sometimes discipline is just us trying not to cry in front of our kids again. And that doesn't make you unqualified, that makes you human. Like, I think the biggest thing that we don't do so well as moms is be human, because we're too busy trying to be perfect. Dang, and I just said that out loud, for the first time, and I was like looking at myself in the mirror, like, what did you just say to me? And that's it. Like, you want to be the guide for your kids. You want to be, help them to navigate. You want to show them well, and so in showing them well, we forget that that part of that is human. And so we come off as looking like perfectionists. And so respect doesn't grow in fear, it grows in safety. And we forget that part of being safe is normalizing being human. And what I've learned through this, as I kind of think through it, is, just kind of understanding that safety starts with your feeling safe in your own body again. And I think that even in our parenting, we're so fearful sometimes as moms that things are going to turn out a certain way. And so we kind of try to curate the experience to be able to develop the human that we want our children to be. And then if we think about that, that's really trying to play God, right? And so we are now parenting from an unsafe space within ourselves, which then create an unsafe space for the humans that we have been chosen to be the guide for, to be the parent for. And then that just perpetuates the system, right? And so being safe and understanding I'm human and this is what human people do. And then a friend of mine always say, like, it's not just what you do, it's what you do after. So understanding that I'm human, I made a mistake, but then going to your kid and say, hey, no, mommy did not do good with that. I did not handle that well. Let's talk about it. That creates a safe space for our kids to say, hey, I can go to my mom and say, I didn't do this well. And she's not going to flip and lose her mind because she's come to me with that. And again, I am learning. I am not here to say, this is what you have to do because this is what I did. As I'm speaking this through, I'm like, yep. So again, that post helped to expose, but then it also provided me in a room to be able to help to see that gap and then navigate that gap in that space of what that looks like. It's one thing to expose it, it's another thing to provide something that helps to close the gap or starts to decrease the gap because um, just saying, just exposing it just really just builds shame. It doesn't build help. And this is not a place where condemnation happens or shame happens. And so when we are parenting and understanding um, that we're human and building that safe space for ourselves first. We have to first feel safe. And so when we're parenting our children, making sure that we're providing a safe space for us to be able to come back and be humble and be human because we won't do it if we don't feel safe. And then that's building a space for our children. And that's also building a level of authority that doesn't require fear, right? It requires wholeness and it doesn't have to be perfect to be present. You don't have to be perfect to be present, but you do have to be honest. And we want our kids to be honest with us. Like when something happens, something goes down, we want them to be honest and say, hey, um, this is what happened. And especially when they get to be adults, right? Like if something is going on, we don't want them to call their friends or another friend or another family member. We want them to call us because we love our children so much. And so we're going to give them the real deal. Like your friends don't know what we know. Your friends do not have the bestest interest. The bestest, that's not a word, but it is a word for mommies. Interest in mind. And although you may think they do, like there's something about a mother's love. And and so I wanted to just be able to come on here and just be able to normalize this, but also bring the full picture to the post that kind of highlighted this for me and kind of gave me that uncomfortable feeling. And for anyone else that may have seen anything like that, like knowing why that uncomfortable feeling is there, that uncomfortable feeling is that is the truth, but it doesn't highlight the whole truth, your situation, your circumstance, whether you're parenting from depletion, you're parenting from lack of resources, you're parenting from being a solo parent, you're parenting um, a child with special needs. All of those things also come into play, which then makes you feel a little uneasy because you're like, hey, I should be able to do this, right? Because this post is saying that when you do this, this happens. So I should be able to do this. But now you have to take into consideration what real life looks like for you, understanding what the behavior could produce, putting that together and now developing a plan that works for you based on your real life situation and circumstances. So if this episode like hit you not as a lesson but as a mirror, because that post definitely hit me, then I want you to one first breathe. Like I had to take a couple of breaths and kind of sit with this and understand that you are not alone. Like this is not the end all. um I really want to be able to kind of just say that, like, this episode is not for condemnation. Like, this is to help us to kind of bridge some gaps. And so if this episode did not feel like a lesson for you and it felt like a mirror, which is what it should have, that was intentional. This was not about offering a fix. It is truly about just telling the truth. This wasn't like pointing fingers and saying, here's your step by step routine, because sometimes parenting just feels like survival. And especially when you're the only one holding the weight. And the real thing is, I don't want to keep saying, I'll be a better mom tomorrow, and tomorrow I'll do better, and tomorrow. And I don't think you do either. And then one day wake up, and that tomorrow is they're grown and ready to be gone, and you miss the moment today, not waiting for tomorrow to do it better. And so that is the hard part. And that part really hit me hard, knowing that I already have children who are gone and grown. And I have one that I'm still responsible for here. And tomorrows keep coming. And that one tomorrow is going to be that one day that she's grown. It's already that I'm reflecting on moments that are her last little girl moments that makes me sad because they're her big girl moments. So I'm happy, but it makes me sad because they're her last little girl moments. And I don't want that one tomorrow to hit. And that's that last moment that I had an opportunity, because now she's grown and gone. And then she gets to make her own choices of whether she comes back or not. And then now I'm trying to bridge gaps or build bridges that I've burned. And so if you're sitting with that too, I just want to say, don't keep sitting with it by yourself. What's really helped me kind of in these spaces is processing it out loud. That's why I pose those questions to you. Like, process that out loud. Give yourself the permission to do that, not just in your head. Like, write it down. Therapy has really helped me to do some introspective thinking and some processing. Coaching has also helped. Not because it solves everything overnight, because I'm not looking for a fix, because it didn't take this long to get here and life happens every day. And so unpacking life is not an overnight process. It's not like open up an Amazon package, but because it really gave me somewhere to go with it. That's why it helps, because it helps me to unpack it consistently and develop me consistently and give me something to work on daily. And if you need that too, then hey, I'm here. Let's talk. DM me, send me a message, send me an email. There's no pressure. It's just real support. Whether it's working for me, working, whether whatever's working for me, if that works for you, then reach out to me if you want to work with me. Starting therapy, I highly encourage that. Like, you doing this by yourself is not healthy. It's not a good thing. Call a friend that you can be honest with. Do something. Don't just sit here with this. Don't just leave this sitting on your chest. If you heard this and you feel uneasy about it, then that is a internal neurological cue that you gotta do something. Your body is feeling uncomfortable because something has to happen with it. And so knowing that you're not broken, and I know we've heard that in all the time, but it's true. You're not broken. And that uneasiness means that there needs to be something that needs to be done with it. But you might be tired, you might be overwhelmed, and you might feel like you're out of options. And that's okay to admit it. It's okay to feel like, oh my God, what do I do with this? But don't stop there. Let's just not stay there. You got to do something else. And so if this hit home for you, then reach out. Reach out to me. I'm here. Call your therapist. Locate a therapist that you feel comfortable with. Talk to a friend. Do something. Just don't stay there. All right, y'all. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of Tawana Talks, where we don't sugarcoat the struggle, but we also don't carry it alone. If this episode spoke to you, do me a favor. Like it, share it, and subscribe, because we need more truth like this. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss when the next one drops. See you next time.